Welcome to the Self-Care Show with Deidre Sanford. Although holistic and alternative healing methods are becoming more and more mainstream, what method is right for you? How do you find a practitioner once you've chosen to explore an alternative therapy? Each week, Deidre will explore a different modality with practitioners who will explain their modality and the benefits they and their clients have received through their sessions. She and her guests may also offer live readings during the show. Now, your host of the Self-Care Show, Deidre Sanford.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday, Alicia. I hope you're still with us. Hi, Lee. Thanks for joining us this morning, guys. I'm sorry we're running a little bit late today, but guess what? Mercury retrograde. You know, what are you going to do? We beat Mercury retrograde for the time being, and we're just going to run with it. Good morning, Tim. Hey, Alicia, I'm so glad you're still here. Thank you. So, guys, you know what? Surprisingly, I don't have a whole lot to say this morning. What? I know I usually ramble for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I don't have it this morning. So I'm just going to blast right off into a little introduction about my amazing, very special guest today. This guest appearance on the show has been a year in the making. It's crazy, and I'm so glad it's finally here and we're getting it in before the big break, right? Because we all know that's coming. So super, super thanks again for hanging in there with us. Friday night, I think we're talking about the 30th, Lee. So we've all talked on different occasions about my brain stop of 2020. And there were so many moving parts to regaining my functionality. Part of that, part of what happened for me at that time was my inability to place myself consistently in my surroundings. So my vestibular system, or my inner gyroscope, as I kept telling all the docs, my inner gyroscope was off. It was very strange. And it affected coordination. It affected my ability to navigate the surrounding area at my home. I couldn't travel like a mile away from my home without the aid of my GPS, which was weird. I'd get in my car and be like, okay, I'm going to X destination, put it in drive, and all of a sudden I would have no idea how to get to where I was going to go. Very scary, bizarre time in my life. Occupational therapy did what it could, and they ended up referring me for optical care, vision therapy, which led to prism glasses. That was fun. Hey, I was able to get some great frames, and it was interesting because I couldn't wear my bifocals. I had to have one pair of glasses for reading and one pair for distance. So I spent several months walking around with 2 pair of glasses on me at all times and switching all day long. But the other component to part of that road to recovery was led by today's guest, Dr. Alia Santoyo. And I was so incredibly blessed to have the opportunity to work under her guidance. She has this amazing ability to take this, I feel, little known piece of Western medicine, which really isn't Western medicine, but we only see it that way when we hear about it, and bringing it together with the aspects that I'm more familiar with working with, like my spiritual path, my spiritual life, or my lack thereof at the time, which was part of the problem. And she was able to not just talk with me about my testing results for my eyes and my peripheral vision in standard terms of what we think of when we say peripheral vision in our daily world, but she was able to bring it together for me with the spiritual component. And it made a world of difference. So I was so blessed to have the opportunity to work with her. I want to just do a super quick, yes, Lee, now you understand. That's a whole different issue in person. But yes, I'm a little on the bandwagon when it comes to that, because our vision affects so many things. But Dr. Alia Santoyo is a neuro-rehab optometrist. She's board certified in light therapy, what I call syntonics. I believe that's all the same thing. She's also a health and wellness educator with additional certifications in breathwork, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, sound healing, energy healing, and she's a life coach. She's also recently received her master's degree in Cannabis Science. Her main focuses are inner child work, trauma healing, optometric rehab, holy cow, energy healing, chakra clearing, light medicine, and plant medicine. Dr. Santoyo is excited as she is pursuing an apprenticeship in level 2 shamanism, certification for advanced sound healing, traditional Chinese medicine, holographic healing, and a degree in integrative health practitioner. Todd, let's let this woman loose. Hey, good morning.
I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you so much.
I'm so blessed that the timing actually finally worked for
Yeah.
us to be able to talk about all these amazing aspects of the world that you've built for yourself.
Yes, it only took 7 planets to be in retrograde for this to happen for us. So.
Which is just kind of that. I can't even talk today.
Sure.
With planets in retrograde, you wouldn't think that something would finally come to fruition, right? You would think it would perpetuate and it's running in the background, but
it shows how powerful of manifestors we are.
There
to
you go.
overcome that, right? There we go.
It's amazing. So lots of new things for you.
Yes. I've kept busy, very busy. I love to learn. I've had some traumas and tribulations to my health, and I take that as a lesson. I learn from this, and then I try to help others, which is what actually got me into neuro-rehab and syntonic phototherapy and light medicine in general.
I said it in the intro. I was so blessed, and we talked about this frequently when we were working together, that I had you to work with. You could help me understand the medical things that were happening, but you could also discuss it with me from a more spiritual aspect. And we watched as things literally expanded in my world when we did this work together. Tell us more about the light therapy.
Sure. So what we do in the particular setting is called syntonic optometric phototherapy. And what that does is it works on the endocrine system. It works on balancing the autonomic nervous system. So when there's any kind of trauma to the body, I guess let's start from the basics. The autonomic nervous system is autonomic, right? And so we don't have to be like, heart, please beat for us, and lungs, please help us breathe. Although sometimes our body needs those little nudges, but generally speaking, it's autonomic. And so we like a nice balance between our sympathetic, which is that fight or flight, and that parasympathetic, which is that rest and digest. So what syntony or syntonics comes from the word syntony, which means balance. So it's a nice ebb and flow. We're not too calm. We're not too overstressed. And, as we know, you can supersede the sympathetic and go into freeze or fawning, which I see a lot in the office when the body is just like, I just can't anymore.
Right.
And so what we do with the syntonic, it's a light unit that we look at. We put specific frequencies in there to either calm that nervous system or stimulate the nervous system, depending on what your body needs. As you know, we're all energetic, spiritual beings. And so, your brain injury is not the same as the patient next to you or the person next to you, and the beautiful thing about syntonics is because it works on the whole body, and with all my background and my training, we can look at it from a spiritual sense, from a holistic healing sense, not just the traditional medical, I have a headache, my eyes don't work. Words move on the page. Why is that? Let's investigate that further.
I love that you're bridging the gap.
I try.
Yeah, well, and you do it beautifully. And I would imagine that there are times in that office when it's very difficult for you to be able to approach your work with your clients from both perspectives, because not everyone is open to having the spiritual side conversation or
That's
integrating that information yet.
it's very true. And I'm not sure if you remember, we did a functional field.
Yes.
So that we use specific colors, and those colors tell us different things. So there's, how is this emotional health of this patient? How is this person perceiving how the world receives them? How is their overall systemic health? What is their greater peripheral view of the world?
Hmm.
Their neck look like? What is their balance like? So the functional field tells me a lot. And when I do my intake with the patient, I can kind of get a feel, this is a very straight and narrow, just tell me my medical stuff and we're going to move along.
Right.
And there's other patients who I can kind of get a sense of, what else can we do about this? Or, I had all this trauma as a child, and that's where the life coaching and the master's in psychology really comes in handy, because when I'm breaking down the field, they'll start crying and say, I was abused as a child, or, I had a really abusive narcissistic spouse, or I was abandoned. All this comes out. And as long as they're open and willing to share with me, and I always remind them, you're safe. You're very safe in this room. Nothing, unless you're a harm to yourself or others, nothing leaves these four walls that we're in, and we can work from there. And some of them outside of, if they're comfortable, I will incorporate, CBD to help that endocannabinoid system, breathwork, meditation, all of that stuff to kind of heal them as a whole.
Which was an amazing jumping off point for me. I can't count the number of times I cried in your office. And it just seems so, I guess, odd on some levels that, oh, let's look at this color light for a little while and work with that energy frequency of that light or the vibration of that particular color of light and evoke a response.
Yes, and that's the beauty of it. And I actually had a patient who yesterday had a stroke, and
Mm.
she just started crying and she was embarrassed. And I said, "Why are you embarrassed?" And she said, her mom just passed right before Christmas last
Ugh.
year. And she's like, all these visions of my mom are coming. And I said, I can't tell you how to feel, but know that you're safe and you're protected and you're grounded. And whatever you feel comfortable sharing with me, I will help you unpack and process. I said, there's no society makes us embarrassed for crying and having
Right.
emotions. And I think that's why there's so much illness and dis-ease in this world. I think we pack everything up and just keep trudging forward instead of processing or saying, oh, wow, this happened. What can I learn from this? What can I grow and gain from this?
Right.
And I just said, my shaman mentor once told me it's okay to cry because clouds cry, and that's how you get rain. And you can't get rainbows without rain.
Oh,
And I
what a
said,
beautiful
so
thing.
allow those tears and let's find that rainbow. And she just had the biggest smile and just cried and shared so much about her past with me. And when she left, she's like, can I hug you? I just feel so much
Yay.
better. And so it's amazing how these frequencies can evoke these
Mm.
responses.
I think it's beautiful. I mean, we have talked, you and I, we've talked in the show. In my own practice, we talk about we need to listen to our bodies.
Mhm.
We need to allow ourselves to process these emotions. They come up and they're surprising and they may feel scary or ugly or at the very least uncomfortable, but they're there for a reason.
Mhm.
And when we don't stop and cope and process or share or shed,
Mhm.
then we end up in these states of physical contraction in some way, shape, or form,
Mhm.
which affects us on a physical level.
Mhm.
And working with you or the way that you work with us, absolutely, beyond the shadow of a doubt, creates an incredibly safe container in which to do that work. And some of the work, some of the work that we do with you in respect to syntonics takes place in the dark.
It does.
That alone can be a scary, scary, intimidating place to be, is in the dark with a stranger.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. And if a patient is, because I have had a couple patients that have had trauma as a child in the dark, like abuse.
Yeah.
Then there's ways around doing the college doesn't like to call it Syntonic. So it's a form of light therapy, and we use these cardboard goggles with the filters inside. They're not glass, but we can sit out by the sun. We can
Yep.
walk around with them. So there's special ways to work around with it. Or if a patient feels very unsafe, they can close their eyes and have, the frequencies just kind of shining in their face. I have a grounding that patients can sit on. So there's ways to work around it, which is really nice. And the beautiful thing about syntonic therapy is there's just a lot of flexibility. And I'll always ask patients, like, well, what does your body tell you?
Mm-hmm.
Standard protocol is 20 minutes for 21 days. You do 5 days on, you give your body 2 days off. That's standard protocol, but there's wiggle room. If it makes you uncomfortable, I don't want you to force yourself through that.
That can actually end up re-traumatizing people. Yeah.
Yes, we don't want to re-traumatize. And so if all they can handle is 2 minutes with their eyes closed holding someone's hand, then that's what we do.
That's beautiful. I wonder, because I learned so much when I was working with you, if we can talk just a little bit, whatever's comfortable, about peripheral vision.
Sure.
Vision testing and how that relates to different spiritual aspects or different energetic aspects of ourselves.
Sure. So what we do is a functional field. We do one eye at a time, and we look at different colors. So we start with white, which is your overall peripheral awareness. So not really vision, because when you have a brain injury, you can still see. So you have vision, but is your brain able to process what you see?
Right.
Or oftentimes, a lot of patients, I'll say, do you run on the more anxious side? Because they have a field that they're walking around. Their brain is processing like this much visual input going to the brain, and the brain is processing it. So they're, yes, I get very startled, or I get very anxious. And that's because they're processing like this, right? And that's not because they have vision loss, where they lost it, meaning they had a stroke or they have an eye disease that takes away that vision, but their brain is just kind of collapsing down. And that happens a lot with trauma, because your body just kind of shrinks in. And so your field would be like maybe 5 degrees that the brain is processing. So your brain is a nice, healthy brain, and it can predict, like, oh, I know something is here. Like I know something's here, but I cannot process that. And that makes us more startled. That can make us more anxious, because we know something's here. Like, for example, you can't see my background, but there's like a desk right here. I have full functional vision, so I can see the desk. Right. I can process the desk. If I have a collapsed field, I can intuitively sense something is here, but I don't know what it is. And then I turn, I'm like, oh, it's a desk. And you can be more startled. That's why driving and shopping with the moving parts, that can be overwhelming for someone with a collapsed field.
Yeah. Yes. I had all of those problems when I met you.
Yes. And I've been so blessed with the most wonderful mentors. And I have a different special practitioner who's training me on the different colors. Like blue has more of like a spiritual meaning or emotional meaning. So I know if it's a real small blue field, I know we're not going to trudge headfirst with standard protocol. We kind of very gently help that person kind of open up real gradually, versus someone with a more open blue field and a smaller green field. What does that person need to detox from? Is there an environment or an individual that's very toxic for them? And that gives us an idea. And then there's red, that just kind of tells us, how their eyes are working together as a team, how their eyes are processing systemic cardiovascular things. So all the colors mean different things.
Yes.
Colors different from frequencies of the lights that we use.
Which is astounding how it all comes together. And it's not, from my recollection, I mean, yes, there were openings and there was crying, there was some releasing, but it's not as heavy duty as we may think of when we go back to release a trauma or a traumatic experience, or unpacking, so to speak. It's a much more gentle process of reopening.
It is, as long as we move slow, because it can be, and that's why I feel it's so strongly believe that a practitioner that is going to participate in syntonic phototherapy, they should be trained. It's not, a lot of practitioners think, oh, it's just lights. It can't do any harm. I mean, you're just looking at, I turn on my lights every day, but you really need to know what you're doing. You can't just, oh, they had a brain injury, I'm just going to use these blue lights. And it doesn't work that way. It's very, very intricate, and you really need to know what you're doing, which is why I wanted to be board certified and become a fellow, so I had all the knowledge I could get. And I'm constantly learning things from these amazing mentors I have.
I love it. I love it. Lee popped in with the question, and she usually has almost always actually has very good questions. And she wants to know if you can tell when someone has the ability to see more colors than the average person. I think she later came back and said tetrachromacy, if I'm pronouncing that right, is what she's thinking of.
Oh, possibly. That I'm not sure. I mean, chrome means color. Tetra, I would think, means like more than one, maybe.
Tetris is what that makes me think of.
Yeah, I'm not. I would think maybe hyperchromia, maybe, because hyper is advanced, over exaggerated, and color, chroma. But that's something I can look into and get back to you on, because that I'm not sure. I feel that I don't know if there's a name for it, but like empaths and deeply spiritually connected people
That would be Lee.
really like, wow, that grass is so vibrantly, beautifully green, or the sky is beautiful blue. But I'm not sure. But that's a great question. But I will research that, and if I find an answer, I will let you know.
That'd be awesome. Are you websiting yet? Do you have a website where
I'm working on it?
Okay, fabulous.
I have a Facebook page with all of the modalities I do outside of the office, like the life coaching. And
what is your name on your Facebook page?
It's Zenful, so Zenful Spirit LLC.
Shocking. I knew that in the back of my head. I knew that. Thank you. But instead of just putting it in the chats, I also want us to be able to speak it for our podcast listeners, so everyone has equal opportunity to gather that information. So Zenful Spirit LLC on Facebook.
Yes.
Fabulous. Thanks. Did have Alicia popped in when we were chatting and troubleshooting prior to the show. She was already in the comments and letting us know that she was here. And I'm so happy that she's here. She had said previously that she was called to watch the show today. She thinks there's something there for her. And there absolutely is. Congratulations, Elisa, on all of your hard work to get where you are now. She's made some major changes in her life so that her life is much more calm. And she's still working with a shot nervous system, as she says it, constant anxiety and PTSD. So she's saying this information really is hitting home for her.
Oh, good.
Thank you for talking with us about the light therapy and some of its correspondences to our emotional and spiritual worlds. I love that we can put this information out for folks to find you.
Yes.
What other aspects do you want to jump off into? You had mentioned CBD a little bit ago. Is that something you want to bring in today?
Sure, if you feel called. Yes.
Go for it.
Not many people know that we have an endocannabinoid system, and that needs to be regulated as well. And when that's off, we can also suffer from dis-ease or inflammatory issues. And so a little dose of CBD, or for some people, they may need some THC or other forms of plant medicine. And so oftentimes in office, I will recommend a CBD oil for the patient if they feel called, because it has for certain people, it has I don't know the right word, but just it leaves like not so nice feeling with them, because they're like, oh, am I going to get high? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to be labeled a criminal? And because it just kind of has a bad rap.
Sure, it does. I mean, for so many years, it was taboo, which is also part of what made it popular as a recreational tool, right?
Yes.
And I love that we're finally able to acknowledge that there's more to this. There is value to the usage. Yes. And when we break it down simply to the CBD, we don't have the high effect that some of us used to chase through recreational means or as an escape.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about how that can help us with inflammatory responses, or even some of our on-edge emotional situations.
Sure. Well, again, it leans on to that endocannabinoid system where there's, the CB1, CB2, CB3 receptors. Um, and so like the THC can cross the blood-brain barrier, which is why you get that high and, sometimes forgetfulness and things like that, depending on the strain. The company that I am most trusting of and most affiliated with, she's a small family business out of Batavia. And
Oh,
so
nice.
I carry her line in my in the clinic setting, and there's 5 different levels because again, we're all different energetic beings. And just because this person may have, achy joints like in the body, not the other kind of joint, but achy joints in the body, they may need a little bit more CBD than the other person. So again, it's all just person dependent.
That's amazing. And that's new. That's in addition to what you had been doing when you and I first met, right?
Yes, I've been with her for quite a while, but I wanted to wait to have the degree so
Mhm.
I could firmly stand behind, like,
Yes.
I know this is the science and this is, because I just know from personal experience, CBD oil has helped immensely
Mhm.
with headaches and neck aches and body aches. And I give it to my children for ADHD and things like that. And again, it's not a cure all or anything like that. But it's a nice supplement that I give them. But I wanted that education and that knowledge to back up
Yeah.
what I intuitively know. So I can say, here's the science. And
That's beautiful. Just hearing the way you bring so many components of patient care, and of course, all of the education that you have to bring
right,
it together is beautiful. And I think we need a lot more people who can bring those two things together that are
right,
easily and more readily available to all of us, should we choose to follow that path.
right.
It looks like this is going to be a great time to take a super quick station break.
Okay,
And
perfect.
then when we come back, maybe we'll bring out some more of your shamanism.
Sure.
Woohoo! I'm looking forward to it. Hang in there with us, you guys. You are watching the Self Care Show on WLTKDB, and we will be right back.
Looking for a unique paranormal experience? The Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon, October 7th, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is just the event you're looking for. You will have the opportunity to investigate the Haunted Rock Island YMCA with ACG Paranormal. Visit with over 60 paranormal and metaphysical vendors from 8 or more states. And pre-order your t-shirts at dvinar@aol.com. Visit a psychic gallery reading, mediums, tea leaf reading, animal communication, dream interpretation, aura reading, tarot and oracle card readings, or get a Reiki healing. See a demonstration of the Estes method by Carly Bird. Presentations by Nick Simons and Aaron G. Thompson of 28 Days Haunted, Greg Bakken from Ghostbox Radio, and headliner Rick Hayes, along with many folks you'll see on Paraflix. Be sure to like and follow our sponsors: Paraflix, WLTK DB Talk Radio LLC, Studio 6 Productions, Unturned Pages, and Ocean Eye Crystals. General admission is only $5, and all proceeds go directly to the Haunted Rock Island YMCA. For more information on the Haunted Rock Island YMCA Paracon and vendors, look for them on Facebook under Events.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for sticking around with us this morning. We are talking today with Dr. Alia Santoyo. She is a neuro-rehab optometrist. She also has certifications in breathwork, yoga, mindfulness, sound healing, energy healing. She's a life coach. She's received her master's in Cannabis Science. She's also pursuing an apprenticeship in level 2 shamanism. Let's talk about that. I love the shamanistic approach to all of your work.
Yes. Now that's something that I don't really do in the office.
Right?
that's something that someone would seek me out. But a lot of it is just spiritually and divinely guided.
Mhm.
We can use rattles, energy. We mainly just want to clear out whatever no longer serves them, or we can connect them to ancestors or whatever I'm called from spirit or their ancestors to do.
Mhm.
That's what we do to heal them so they live their highest and best.
Which is beautiful. It's a great adjunct to the office work. And I'm assuming that the shamanism then comes into play more in your life coaching work. Is that correct?
It can, absolutely, yes. Or someone may just be looking for some energy work and they're called to me, or they serendipitously find me. And they just say, "Oh, I would love to experience shamanism." And then we get set up with whatever if we need stones or rattles or drums or whatever we may need for what that individual needs. And then I incorporate, it could be chanting, it could be whatever they need.
I love all of these facets of you that come together to make you such an amazing service person for all of us to choose to work with.
Oh, thank you.
It's beautiful. Breathwork, yoga, life coaching. When do you find time to breathe yourself?
That's, it's so fun. I make sure I have what we call bookends of the day. So I have to start my morning off with a meditation and some breath work before I touch my phone, before I get out of bed. That's how I start my morning. And at nighttime, I have to. So if I don't have those bookends, my kids know, because they're like, "Did you not meditate today, Mom?" Or, so they know it's a very, very apparent. And breath work, I just incorporate whenever I need it. Like if I'm driving and I don't want to get angry at that person, that cut me off, or just find my center and start breathing.
It's interesting that you say that, because I am absolutely not as reactive as I used to be on the road, but I have my moments and I hear myself and my thought process in my head, and I quickly change it to, "Thank you for being the driver in front of me that reminds me to slow down."
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Exactly. Yeah.
How would one choose maybe to breathe through that kind of a response? Because I
Right.
think that's something we all deal with.
Yes. Like a box breathing would be nice, where you could, inhale for the count of 4. You can hold for the count of 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. You could hold the steering wheel and just visualize a box and just like
I
that.
love it. I love that. Your self-care game is so strong. It's beautiful.
Most of the time. I mean, I'm human, and sometimes we all can have bad days, and you're just reminded. I think the most important thing for me is, what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
What because what good does it do if I get all flustered and then I go into fight or flight? I'm not going to be of service to myself or to others. And
True.
for me, the most important thing is I have 2 little boys that are watching everything I do. And so I keep that in the back of my mind. Like, well, if this isn't working, if I throw a big tantrum, what is that teaching them? Because I'm their role model, and I'm hopefully the kind of woman that they'll end up with, or partner that they choose.
Yeah.
I don't want them to be with someone that's super reactive or throws tantrums, or, I want them to, and in school, and their teachers have always said that, like, wow, they're very, very calm when they don't get very frustrated or very flustered. I teach them to be empowered, because you need to stand up for yourself. You don't want to go into that fawning, and you don't want to be bullied, but you also don't want to be a bully. And so
Right.
I think they're my biggest inspiration is, I have these little set of eyes that are watching me. So I need to keep it together, and I need to really practice what I preach.
I love the representation of bringing balance to all things. And it's got to be sometimes a very interesting dichotomy, because I know you to be a practitioner and an individual who would encourage us
Right.
to sit with, make friends with, and explore emotions and emotional responses to things.
Uh-huh.
How do you find balance, or how would you suggest we find balance between our emotional knee-jerk reaction or
Right.
internal reaction and functioning in the world? That
Sure.
made sense, or maybe functioning in
Yeah.
that moment or just moments shortly thereafter.
Right. Well, I think that in society, we just give emotions like they get a bad rap. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
shouldn't be angry. I have to be a nice, gentle human, or I'm going to be mislabeled as a terrible mom, or I can't be sad, or I have to, because I feel that we walk around, going back to that functional field that we were talking about, we
Right.
walk around with, blinders, and we're supposed to operate like machines. Like, we get up, we get ready, we drive, we go to work, we punch a clock, it's just a hamster wheel. And I think if we can separate ourselves from that hamster wheel and, honor and recognize whatever, let's say a coworker said something that made you upset, right? Number one, you separate yourself. And what is this feeling? Where am I feeling it at?
Yes.
Okay, I feel this tightness in my chest. Okay, what is this, body? What are you feeling? I feel angry. Okay, from like a simplistic anger, let's give that a color. I feel red. Okay, I feel tightness in my chest. Let's label anger as red. Okay, I'm going to do an opposite reaction. So I'm just going to stretch out my chest to get rid of that tightness. And I'm holding this anger, and you can dissolve it any way you want. You can blow it away. You can visualize burying it. You can imagine it's bouncing at your windshield and your wipers just knock it away.
Oh, neat.
Do that. If you want to go even deeper, you can look at the person that made you angry, and like, why is that person acting like that? Like, what is, so you can choose to, not be angry and hold the grudge, because anger and grudges are just very unhealthy for us.
Toxic. Yeah.
You carry that with you, like, oh, that person said that to me and she's a jerk or he's a jerk. And I just carry that the rest of the day. And then you tighten up and, you can just choose to kind of see that person as a entity or whatever. Maybe they're having a bad day too, and I'm just going to disregard that anger and I'm going to focus on me. And then you release that anger. I don't know if that made sense. It kind of went
It
off.
does.
So, but that's what I do. I like to ask your body what you're feeling. What am I feeling? And your body will tell you, I'm feeling sadness. Where am I feeling that? Gosh, my thighs just feel really tight and my hips feel really tight. Then you do the opposite reaction. You can breathe into it. You can just visualize it melting away, and then just kind of visualize whatever that feeling or emotion is. Give it a color, give it a name, give it whatever you want to, and then just visualize it just dissolving away while you're breathing and finding your center. I always ask myself, is this serving me? Is this emotion serving me? Is this individual serving me? And if it's not, then I gently release them with kindness. Someone said something mean to me, I kindly return it to sender. If someone's like, you're a horrible doctor, I don't agree with you. Those are your thoughts and opinions. I kindly return that to you. Return to sender. That's not mine.
Or with gratitude. Thank you for bringing me this opportunity to learn XYZ, or to learn about my own emotional reaction to the situation so that I can look at it further.
Right.
It can be so hard to do in the moment as we're learning.
It's a learned process. It's an exercise. It's something, the more you do it, the more habitual it comes. And again, we're human, and there may be days where stars in the line for us and we're just kind of a little bit more offset,
Yeah. So when are you, and maybe you are, and I don't know, workshops, is that something that's on your schedule for yourself?
You mean hosting or attending?
Hosting.
Oh, hosting. Yes. I do that quite a bit. I'm starting, it's called Gratitude, Grievance, and Guidance. I was called, my aunt just recently passed away from cancer. And in a meditation, she came to me and said, there's a lot of people that are grieving right now, and they just really need your guidance. And they need a place to know that it's safe and okay to grieve, that they don't have to push it down and just kind of go along with it. And so I was called for that. And so that starts in October. It'll be a very small, because I don't like big giant groups.
Right.
So it'll be just a very small, intimate group where people are safe to air any grievances or, guidance that spirit may want to share with them. And just gratitude, because I feel I may not always live in a life of gratitude, but I find myself much happier when I find gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's wonderful that you've been given this opportunity to step even further into sharing, teaching, supporting, and being of service in kind of a new way. It's sort of taking the one-on-one life coaching that I was aware of that you were doing into a bigger arena so that you can help that many more people at one time. I think it's beautiful that that opportunity is available. Is that information going to be on your Facebook page by chance?
I will put it up there. Yes, it will be up there. But I'm always, I run seminars on introduction to meditation. A lot of people have the misnomer like, well, I can't meditate. I
Right.
can't even sit still. And, just baby steps, even
Yeah.
if you just sit for a second. And a lot of people have the misnomer that meditation is like this glorious thing where you're sitting with a monk and you're humming and, but meditation can be whatever just puts your mind in mindfulness. So I have a client I'm working with now, and he's like, well, I have ADHD and I can't meditate, and good luck. And I take it as a challenge. And, but he's this amazing jujitsu person. And that's his
hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
He goes on the mat and he does his jujitsu, and that's his form of meditation for an hour. And he feels relief. And, he wasn't humming or, sitting chanting with a monk holding mala beads. Like,
right.
I have clients that like, I just run. Running for me is my meditation. Yep. Well, good then. Do that every day.
Doing dishes.
That can be. Yes. As long as you're mindful and in the moment and not wandering while you're doing dishes, like, so tomorrow's dinner is going to be this, and I have this project, and I have to take the kids to soccer. Be mindful, like I'm doing the dishes, and I'm washing the dishes, and I'm grateful I have dishes, and I'm grateful for that can be a meditation. And so I offer a course that teaches people that, and there's a breathwork course that I offer. I have about 5 people in the class right now.
Oh, wonderful.
So,
and are these localized classes one-on-one, or are they Zoom workshop?
A lot of them presently are Zoom, because as crazy as COVID was, it really helped tap into, a lot of my clients are not even in the state.
Right.
Because a lot of things are via telephone or Zoom, and, so a lot of those are Zoom, and it can be if a person wanted one-on-one, then we could work on their schedule.
Fabulous. And I wanted to make sure that I understood that for myself too. I mean, there's always room to do more work or try new things. So that people know how to connect with you and how to find you. And I think it's important that we also got the word out that we can work with you in whichever capacity remotely, which is beautiful. I mean, everything is energy, right?
It is. It is. Yes.
My cat has, by the way, gotten to be, she was a little curious today, cruising around. That's why I kept looking off to the side. She's been for quite a while. So every once in a while, she gets these bursts of energy. And today, after you came in, she was actually over here by my feet, which she doesn't usually do during a show. And she's now curled up over in her little house, sleeping upside down as she does, because I think that's so cute.
That's adorable. It's a female?
Yes.
What's her name?
Shadow.
Oh, Shadow. Oh.
So I wanted to share with you that as we're talking about energy, right, and connecting remotely with energy, as you brought your energy into the show today, of course, it came over to my end, and the cat.
Oh, that's so great. Oh, good.
She's fabulous. I am so happy and grateful that you were able to share time with us this morning and help us learn more about who you are, what you do with your clients. I think your trauma work is amazing. All of the things that I already knew and the things that I've learned are just fantastic. And I'm so happy to be able to share information about you and share you through this show with all of our listeners, whether they're here live in the show with us today or catching us in podcast format.
Well, I'm so grateful for you, and thank you.
Absolutely.
It was a blessing that our paths crossed. I was so grateful that we got to meet and interact and get to know one another. And, thank you for this invitation.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad that we were finally able to get the schedules to work together to do that. And the work that I was able to do with your help was really, truly the springboard, not just to recovery from, well, let's just say whatever that was during that period, but into stepping off further into my own path and claiming myself.
That's beautiful.
Oh, it was amazing. Of course, you don't realize those things in the moment. I knew I was doing work, but this is where I've landed. And I made the decision to start this show while we were working together.
That's great. That's just
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes. They say though, don't they, when a big giant transition of blessing is about to happen, our world is just kind of shaken
Oh
up.
boy.
Mhm.
And especially with 7 planets in retrograde, there are a lot of us who've been
Yeah,
doing balancing acts one after another for the
yeah,
last several
yes,
weeks.
right.
Amazing. Thank you so much once again for joining us. I am going to have to close out the show here pretty quick. But thank you again for being here. I hope you'll stick
Thank
around
you.
backstage for a minute or two so that we get a chance to catch up at the end. And we'll get back in with Todd as well. He's got a lot of fun stuff going on too.
Perfect.
Guys,
Thank you.
yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Lee and Tim and Alicia. It's just so exciting to see all of you coming back in to support the show, to learn from our guests, to support the radio station in general. And I know there are a lot of other shows here on the station that you've all been participating with. I finally got my schedule organized, guys. Can you believe it? So on Sunday, September the 24th from 10 to 5, I'll be at the Illuminate Festival in Naperville. I'll not only be doing table readings and talking group cuss therapy with people, but I will also be doing a mediumship gallery that afternoon. And rinse, repeat. I'm going to do that same process the following weekend, September the 30th, which is a Saturday from 10 to 5 in Bloomington, Illinois with Illuminate Festivals. October the 7th, who else coming to Rock Island, y'all? That haunted Rock Island YMCA fundraiser. I am so excited to be there. Old friends from the community and new friends. Natalie Jones from Paraflix is going to be there, as well as 4 other teams that are featured on Paraflix. I know there are a couple of you out here who are going to be at that event as well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you one-on-one again. October 14th, I'll be in Yorkville, Illinois at Witches Night Out. That's going to be so much fun. I can't wait. And then on October the 28th, I will be in Escanaba, Michigan, along with Christina Bloom at the Hiawatha Wellness. She's hosting a Mind, Body, and Spirit fair there as well, October the 28th. All right, y'all, I'm going to turn you loose for the day. Dr. Santoyo and I are going to chat backstage. Thank you once again for being here this week. Join us next week at 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning. Until then, y'all, be happy and be safe. Be well. Thanks again.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTKDB.com.